Hello and welcome round to my house and happy Easter. Now we're celebrating in style this weekend as I've got a feeling that today's show is going to be a real cracker. We've got a true icon of the London restaurant scene in the kitchen and I'll be cooking for a best-selling author and 80s music legend. We've got an award-winning Easter egg on the show as well as the best chocolatier in the business. So the sun is shining, but let's get inside and let's get cooking.
Morning. Are you coming in then?
Good morning, and what a show we got lined up for you this Easter. Today is going to be a special one. We've got 80s music legend and good friend of the show, Mr. Paul Young will be dropping by. Looking forward to that one, and I'll be cooking a dish of brill and clams for chef and turned author Rosemary Shrager will be here as well for the very, very first time. And also I'm meeting up with the one and only Mr. Paul Rankin on my Northern Irish leg of my food adventures. There's other incredible recipes. This one of squid from the genius chef, which is Richard Corrigan, will be here as well. And don't miss this week's Little Masterclass. We'll be cooking with 2 ingredients that are bang in season at this time of the year. And that's not all, because I'm here with a man who is busier this Easter than an Easter bunny. It's creme de la creme winner, a genius, Mr. Mark Tilling. Mark Tilling, the busiest man I know at this time of the year.
Busiest man, exactly.
I suppose if you haven't got prepared now, you've had it.
Exactly. It's nice to sit down and be on this side.
It must be crazy for you, is it? I mean,
pretty crazy, yeah. But it's all done. We can stand back now.
Well, you say it's all done because you've done something pretty special for us as well. Because what are you going to be doing on the show today?
So I'm going to do these cookies, but we're going to do cookies with eggs inside. So it's going to be like, you can have either a runny egg, or if you want a hard-boiled egg, you can have a hard-boiled egg cookie or a runny egg cookie.
But you've also made something that's pretty special for us as well.
Yeah, you haven't seen it yet, but yeah, it's a replica of what I did on the Bake Off, right, but about 3 times the size. So
this is the thing that you won. You won it with.
This is the semi-finals that we did.
All right,
this.
okay, all right.
Yeah, this creation of this egg we did for the semi-finals.
Just have interest, how long did this take?
A long time.
I was expecting you to take 90 seconds, but he didn't. It's a tremendous amount of work. But we're kicking things off today by making brownies with Rocky Road and truffles. It's a variety of different things that I'm going to do. I'm going to use it to fill these amazing eggs as well, because it's a variety of different things you can do. I'm going to leave the professionals to do the Easter eggs. We're going to talk about Easter eggs in a minute, but I just thought we'd do just some nice little bit of brownies. For this, I've just got some dark chocolate, some butter, and then I'm going to add the eggs, the flour, the sugar, and then we put a little bit of baking powder in it. But also what I'm going to do is put this dolce de leche in it as well,
nice,
which is really nice. And we're just going to incorporate all this lot together and just bake it. And by putting this into it, it becomes really, really sticky.
Yeah, fudgy.
And then I thought I'd do a little rocky road with the biscuits, the chocolate, a little bit of marshmallows, some fruit, that kind of sort of stuff, and just set it. So one's baked and one's actually set in the fridge as well. So we're just going to mix this all together. Now, it's interesting enough, with this time of the year, with obviously Easter eggs, with Mark being here, we've got 2 professional chocolatiers on the show as well, because hopefully we're going to be joined on the line by Mona Shah from Harry Specter's. I think you're there. I can see this machine spinning round behind you. Good to see you on the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you've kindly sent some of these amazing chocolate Easter eggs. I know it's the first thing that he looked at when he walked in was seeing the nice little glaze on the eggs. He was checking them all out straight away, because I know you two know each other. We'll get onto that in a minute. But first of all, Mona, tell us how this business all started, because it's quite a fascinating story how you actually became to do what you're doing, because you weren't doing this originally.
No, so basically, my husband Shaz and I, we started this business. It's our 10th year now, so it's like a really big celebration year for us. But yeah, so our son Ash, he's autistic, and we were wondering what he was going to do once he left mainstream education. And speaking to other parents, they all had the same concerns. And we thought, we should do something not only for Ash, but for others like him. So we set up Harry Specter's. It's a social enterprise, and we only hire autistic people. So they're all autistic young adults. We train them. Some as chocolatiers, others for packaging. So there are lots of jobs that they can do. And yeah, so that was the whole inspiration behind the company.
But what started out as an idea has turned pretty professional. Weren't you doing chocolates and you were selling them and sending them to different people, and particularly the bank that you end up speaking to regarding the business, that they end up selling chocolates as well. So it started off as a little hobby, and then went from there to the business that you got behind you.
Yeah, so we started from a tiny kitchen at the back of our house, and the conservatory was a packaging area because that was like the hugest house in the room. And I heard about the School for Social Entrepreneurs, and went there, did like a Dragon's Den pitch, got on the course, and that's how it all started. So I was still working. My background's in corporate governance, and I used to work in the NHS. So when we started, I said, okay, first things first, I need to get some chocolatier skills going. So I went to the Chocolate Academy, and there's some amazing people there. Mark is one of them. And so basically, it was a 2-day course. They just teach you the basics about making ganaches and shelling chocolates, tempering chocolates, just the basic skills. So I learned that, but while I was on the course, I sort of realized how routine, repetitive, and structured work it is. And it just clicked that, this could be something that autistic people would enjoy. Because we had been thinking for some time to start something for Ash and others. Shaz's background is in digital design, so he's an engineer. And we thought maybe we start something in software because that's also quite precise, and a lot of autistics enjoy that.
And what's been amazing, you've started out with one that your son designed now, and you've had what, 300-400 people, autistic people, all the way through the business as well. That you encourage them to build up their confidence, and then encourage them to also move on, which is a great thing as well.
Yes, so it becomes like an incubator. I don't want people getting too comfortable here, because the whole point is that I want other businesses to hire autistic people. And I want more and more people to come in with boost their confidence, and then move on to different jobs. And we've had a lot of success that way.
Well, best of luck with everything, doing what you're doing. And congratulations with doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Right, so we just got our little... So this is a bit of rocky road, really. We got marshmallows, we got biscuits, that kind of stuff in there. You can put dried fruit, this sort of the semi-dried fruit in there as well. You can mix all this lot together. And the whole idea of this is to sort of think of something that you can utilise the leftover eggs. If you do get the eggs and they're broken, which sometimes happen, we can then utilise them. So we can then sort of build up these little sort of containers to put things in. So the idea is you get a little hot tray, and I've learnt this tip from you as well, really.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've nicked this one from you. There's several ones that I've nicked from you over the years. This is one of them. To melt this like that, and you can just sit that on there, and then you can use the other one, melted, to sit it sort of on there like that. Well, I've nicked it from his idea, really. But the same thing is, if you end up with a broken one like that, you can still utilise them. So, but a little bit of on this one, and on there. And it's just a hot tray right in the oven. And then you can sort of sit these to one side, and they'll just hold. And they're great for a little container that you can then use for a variety of different things, which I've made while we're chatting away over there. But we can then utilise these to then hold these different things. I've made a little truffle mix over here. I've got some of these brownies. These brownies are amazing with this sort of condensed milk in it as well. But you can chop this all up and then use these as sort of a little container to hold inside here as nice little sweets. So you're going to do different ones. I'm intrigued to know how you're going to do these little egg things and these runny eggs or anything else like that. But we can just break up the brown. But you see, look, you've got these. I know you have a taste of that. That is just immense. There's no such thing as a low-fat version of this one. It is just full on. And you can take these, then you can just fill them up. And again, with a little bit of rocky road, it's great for kids. If you haven't just leftover eggs, that kind of stuff, you've got the rocky road. You don't have to chop it all up. You've got bits of fruit, nuts, dried fruit, that kind of stuff. You can add to it as well. Fill them all up like that. You can pack them all in, and the chewy, and particularly with this sort of soft fruit as well, you can utilise these. They can all go in. We've then got, so all I've done is make a little bit of ganache, which is dark chocolate, a little bit of cream, And we've got one over here, and you can roll this in a selection of different things. We've got some coconut, I've got some cocoa powder over here, and you can just take your mixture, these little truffles, just roll it all together, and you can make these simple little truffles. You can pop them back in the fridge, but this is just cream and melted chocolate. And I suppose if you're using white chocolate, you have to add a little bit more cream or something, or a little bit more chocolate.
A little bit more chocolate, yeah, probably about double the amount.
Yeah. This is crazy doing chocolate work like this when you've got the chocolatier that's in here, while interviewing a chocolatier as well. But look at this stickiness as well.
That's good. It's really good.
This is a sticky chocolate brownie with this dolce sort of filling inside as well. And there we have it. So you can lift these out, you can put them onto a little plate, which I will do. Make them look nice. Lift this all up. Lift them on there like that, and then another one on there. And there you have it. Just a great way to use up some of the amazing Easter eggs. And isn't it nice to see some amazing people doing some amazing stuff for an amazing cause as well. And what starts like that as turns into a business, I think it's absolutely fantastic. But there you have it. Sort of 2 versions of eggs with about 3 different fillings. But there you go.
Perfect.
Easy as that. Right, still to come this Easter, Mark will be making these amazing egg cookies. I'm looking forward to seeing those. And I'll be cooking for Rosemary Shrager and Paul Young very shortly. But don't go anywhere, because after the break, I'm exploring the delights of Northern Ireland on another one of my favourite ever food adventures. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, there's a masterclass in asparagus and rhubarb coming up that you don't want to miss a little bit later. And I'll be treating singer Paul Young to Côte de Boeuf very shortly. Right, it's time to take a look back at some of my favourite food adventures. And this week, my travels are taking me to Northern Ireland, where I'm teaming up with local lad, Mr. Paul Rankin, and serving up a stunning dish of local salmon. Enjoy this one. Today, I'm making my way along the stunning Antrim coast and the glens of Northern Ireland. An area of breathtaking views with lush green fields and impressive cliffs and mountains. So here we are, we're back. We're back in Ireland, particularly the north coast of Ireland. I think with this place, you have to say as little as possible. All you've got to do is look out, because it is absolutely stunning. And because of the amazing water they have over here, they have some of the most amazing fish and seafood from around here. It is beautiful. And there's only one person who could join me on this adventure. My old mate and acclaimed chef, Paul Rankin. So you're back, but you don't live here anymore?
No, I live in the Isle of Skye now.
Yeah. You enjoying it?
Yeah.
But I mean, you grew up around here. You went on holiday around here, did you?
Yeah, we had a caravan up here, so we used to terrorise all the locals. We'd come up at the weekend. But this area is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And I never really cooked in Northern Ireland until I came back from my travels.
Yeah.
And when I came back from my travels, I was a chef already, and I didn't really know what I would find here. But what I found was some of the world's greatest produce.
This is home. I mean, it's become famous recently because Game of Thrones, of course. This is all filmed around here, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. Occasionally you see them all dressed up, stomping about the hedges like a bunch of loonies, you know?
He said that rather than me. The north coast of Northern Ireland is an area of natural beauty. The region includes Rathlin Island, the glens of Antrim, and the coastal area between Larne and Ballycastle. Our first stop on this journey is a visit to the unique bridge northwest of Ballycastle. Carrick-a-Reid rope bridge was built by local fishermen to connect the mainland to Carrick-a-Reid Island. These waters have a rich history of salmon fishing, which I can't wait to see, but I didn't realise this bridge was so high.
This is the Carrick-a-Reid rope bridge. This is it, man, this is it.
This is it.
You know, it's still not very sturdy. It's just a couple of planks of wood. Help!
Right, stop messing around. Get on with you.
Don't look down.
There's still holes in it.
I know. It's like I could fall down there. You couldn't, but I could slip through that.
What do you mean I couldn't?
Look at that.
Mate, this is spectacular. Just when you've seen everything. To be honest, I'm glad to be off that bridge. Now we're meeting National Trust Operations Manager Matthew McMullen.
How you doing?
Matthew.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
How you doing,
Good.
boss? How's it going? You all right?
We made it. I made it.
Yeah. He was doing a bit
This
of jumping.
idiot.
Did you
yeah.
see his face crossing the bridge?
There's holes in it
pile.
still.
I know, there's loads of holes in it.
It's a little
So
pile.
when did fishing stop?
2002 was the last time that the fishermen handed the site over back to the trust.
But this must have been a special fishing spot for them to bother to build a bridge to get to the nets.
Yeah, well, it would have took over an hour to get over this way
Yeah.
or that way towards Ballintoy or Ballycastle in a boat back in the day when it would have just been a rowing boat. Yeah. So it would have been quicker to get them over the bridge and back up to the ice house, which is just up on the hill there.
But what makes this such a special fishing spot?
Behind you, the island is called Carrick-a-Reed, and that means rock in the road. So that rock stopped the salmon migrating back over to the river Bush, which is over there. So they would have rested in this area here, and then they couldn't have got back over because of the rock, and then that would have caused the funnel in here, which then caught the fish.
So when was the bridge first erected?
1755.
Really?
Yep. It's a different bridge now. We've replaced it a couple of times since then.
A couple of times, because you change it quite often, don't you?
Yeah, we tried to aim to change it about every 6 years.
Did you make that yourself? Because it's just a few planks of wood and stuff.
I definitely would agree that I didn't do it.
There's a cottage on here as well. Can we have a
There
look
is.
at it?
Sure. We'll
I'm
take a
looking
walk
forward
there,
to
yeah.
this. This is amazing. Look at this.
Isn't it? Oh, it's quite nice in here.
Tell you what, this is great, isn't it?
I could settle in here, right? Like?
You can imagine the heat in here with the big thick walls and the fire lit. And just
The crack, you know, the banter.
And look at the view. It is absolutely spectacular. Right, I'm going to go cooking, so feel free to have a wander around. Don't fall in. It'd be a crying shame. There's no way I can talk about salmon and not cook with it, so I found the ideal place for my mobile kitchen. Well, it's just a trestle table. Do you know what? This place is the very essence of what I thought it would be on this journey. It really is spectacular. This coastline is beautiful. Look at this. Just look down there. It is a spectacular place full of amazing people and amazing food. And this dish is fabulous. It uses Glenarm salmon, which is from around there as well. You can tell really good salmon because the colour of it, it's just beautiful and lightly pink like that. And I'm going to serve this with some gorgeous mussels, which you get from the estuaries from around here, and nice potatoes. It's a really simple dish, one pot dish really, but it relies on the quality of this. Nice piece of salmon. And then what I'm going to do is just trim off this belly off here. Now, you can utilise this belly. This is amazing with fish cakes, bit of kedgeree, that kind of stuff. You want to mix this with a bit of smoked haddock as well. But all I'm going to do is just take the salmon and cut it into chunks like that. And I'm going to simply cook this. And I say simply cook it, really, really simply. It's just a bit of seasoning, a touch of black pepper over the top, a little bit of salt, and almost nothing else. And the key to cooking fish, in fact all fish I think really, is this combination of oil and butter. But you use oil first of all, a little knob of butter, just a touch, and just pop the fish in. Make sure the pan's nice and hot. So while that's cooking, I'm going to wash my hands. And while that's happening, we can turn our attention to our stew part, really. Running through the ingredients, come on over here. We've got some shallots, we've got a bit of garlic, some tomatoes. I've taken the skin and the seeds off these tomatoes, some cooked new potatoes, capers, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, some Tabasco, a bit of lemon, and then some gorgeous mussels with a touch of tarragon. This dish is fantastic. We can take a little bit of shallot, literally just finely chopped onion, like that. A little bit of garlic. We don't want too much, so we don't want to distract the flavour of everything. Like that. And now our fish is just about ready, you see. We then take it and lift it over. See, look at that. You just leave that simply to cook now. And while that's cooking, we can add a little bit more butter to it if we wanted to. And a touch more oil if we wanted to as well. We just leave that cooking away, like that. And what we can do now is just baste the fish, really. So we take the butter, the foaming butter, and go over the top. It's a great way to cook fish, this. And you get this gorgeous crispy skin. Just look at it. We just let it sit there. Because this is now cooked, so I'm just going to take this off to one side. Just let that sit in the pan while I do the rest of the ingredients, really. So we've got some potatoes that have been pre-cooked. These ones. Just again, dice them all up. So a few dice of potatoes like that. And then the thing about this is the tomatoes. Now, I've taken the skin and the seeds off the tomatoes, which I'm just going to dice like that. And then what we can do is just take our nice little bit of fish out, like this. Leave that to one side, because then I can put it back on the heat and then simply make our sauce, really. So we've got our shallots, our garlic, with a touch of tarragon. Now we can add the rest of our ingredients. We can add our potatoes, can go in, our tomatoes, like that. And then we've got these gorgeous mussels. They're going to go in. Just a few of those. Some capers, sprinkle those in. And then we spike this up with 2 ingredients, a bit of Worcestershire sauce. And then a touch of Tabasco. Bit more butter, of course, because it is my recipe. We pop the lid on and we cook this for about 2 minutes. While that's cooking, this is the boring bit, the director will cut to pretty shots of this. See you in a bit. Just mix this together and you get this beautiful, simple stew. Just leave that as it is. You can add a tiny little bit of lemon, just a touch. Perfect. So you've got all that lovely juice from the mussels as well. And then all you need to do is take your fish. And there you have it. Mussels just simply cooked with a little bit of spice. Some beautiful Irish salmon. It doesn't get any better than that, does it really? My simple salmon with mussels with sauce vierge. A fitting homage to this wonderful place. I remember that trip, it was amazing. Right, still to come, Mark will be making egg cookies, and you're going to do 1 hard-boiled and 1 soft-boiled.
1 hard-boiled, 1 soft-boiled.
See, I've been trying to figure out how he's doing this. I reckon he's using a very famous sort of soft-boiled sort of chocolate egg.
Oh, no.
I reckon,
no.
All right, maybe not. We've also got some top-class cooking from Mr. Richard Corrigan, but we'll see you back here after the break while we're treating music icon Paul Young to a Cote de Boeuf. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, today's masterclass is all about 2 fantastic ingredients that are right in season at the moment, and chefs Richard Corrigan and Mr. Mark Tillin will be taking over the kitchen very shortly. But first, I'm here with an iconic singer-songwriter who's quite handy in the kitchen, and he's not too bad in the recording studio as well. It's the one and only Mr. Paul Young! Yeah! Mr. Paul Young, welcome back.
Yes, well,
you've been on here a few times, haven't you, really?
I have quite a few times. Yeah.
Quite a few times. The last time you were on as well, we cooked for you. This time we're going to cook for you as well. We got a beautiful bit of steak, because I know you like steak, and I know you love Mexican food.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a nice little chimichurri sauce with a beautiful steak, and I thought I'd do roast parsnips with tequila, which is quite an unusual combination. But I've got some steak that's been aging in this salt chamber over here. So I've got a little bit of Cote de Boeuf, if that's all right for you.
Yes, it's incredible.
Beautiful little Cote de Boeuf, which we're going to pan fry as well in our pan, and then I'm going to get on and do our parsnips as well. But first of all, where do I start with your career? Because we get guests on the show, and you get a briefing pack, and the briefing pack's anywhere between sort of 2 and 6 pages. 16 pages.
No.
16, yeah, because you've done so much in terms of your career.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of trouble over the years.
But I mean, some iconic moments in your career. But I want to take you right back to your childhood, really, because looking at your childhood, it seems to me that you struggled as a kid, but the passion and the drive, you wanted to be a singer.
Yeah.
That was the drive of it. But you did all manner of different sort of stuff to how did you end up singing then? How did that work in terms of doing what you're doing?
Well, first of all, I got into local bands as a bass player. always had my eye on the singers' place, but it just so happened the band I was going into had lost their singer and they were going to lose their bass player as well,
right,
on purpose. And so they were looking for someone to take his place, which I did. I quite got into playing bass for a while, but then as things changed, they let me do a couple of songs in the middle of the set.
Right.
We were just playing pubs, you know, and that was when there were no stages in pubs, so you're on the floor. Yeah. No one can see you except for the front row.
But then, you know, I mean, back then, 80s. Got to talk about the 80s. What was the defining moment for you? Was it one song? I mean, how did it work back then? Because when you speak to everybody from, you know, different bands that were around at that moment in time, it was always just one. You had a go, one track. That didn't work. Then you were allowed to have another go. It's very different to now. You kind of get one shot and that's it. Whereas this time, you know, back then in the 80s, almost everything went. Everything goes. If you didn't, but do you know what I mean? If you didn't get a hit that one,
yeah,
you were hoping for the second one. Was that the case, or?
Yeah, it was. I mean, if you think back as far as the 50s and 60s, people would take artists that they wanted to nurture. They knew they'd got something, so they signed them and they stuck with them. People like Bob Dylan, a lot of artists. So the 80s were kind of in the middle of what it's like now.
Amazing time, wasn't it? Really? I know you got your eye on the steaks, and wanted to get this in the oven. This is a little bit of stock cube. So you beef stock cube over the top. Just give this a massive umami hit, and I'm going to roast this in the oven and coat it in butter while it's roasting in the oven as well. And this gives it a beautiful steak. Cooks for about sort of 12, 15 minutes. A really hot oven in there as well. But like I was saying, the iconic thing about the 80s was anything goes. But, you know, that moment in time, you know, when you got that big hit, your first number one and that huge hit, you very, very quickly became, I don't mean to be rude, but you were probably the biggest name globally in terms of music. Quite quickly, you were. But you were, though.
It was quite quickly in the UK, yeah. I guess it was 2 years later that it finally happened in America for me.
What was the catalyst in America, then? Was that because people found out about you? Or
it was the second album, and it was Every Time You Go Away. It was perfect for the American market, really. The thing that I always struggled with in America was radio was led by styles, you know, so you had AOI, you had MI, you had rock stations, you had R&B stations, and I straddled quite a few of those genres, so that they didn't really know what I was, and
yet you know, look at Band-Aid, you were the track first up, your voice,
that was, I mean, I think I was the youngest or the most recent artist that was on that record, and so I certainly didn't expect to get the first line.
Because wasn't there a rumour going around it was Bowie and he couldn't get over? Was that the rumour?
This is what I heard. Yeah,
I can't see that being the case because I mean you were globally, you were huge name.
Yeah, but you want to go for the biggest name, really, don't you? To open a record that you're trying to raise money, the maximum amount of money, and I'd have Bowie on there like that, you know. So
yeah. Did you know what it was going to be like? I mean, because you appeared at Band-Aid and stuff like that. Did you know at that particular time? Because, you know, you were touring all over the world. You were going all over the place. You kind of had any days off. It must have been just all morphed into another thing. And then all of a sudden you just get there and going,
yeah, but to be honest,
what is happening?
I didn't even see what was going on in Africa because I'd never switched the TV on. I was working, I was touring, I'd get back to the hotel, I'd crash out, I'd get up, I'd go somewhere else, you know. And I'd missed the initial thing, and it was Bob that filled me in on it. So I got there relatively unsure of what was going on.
Yeah.
And he just said, it's going to be big, it's going to be massive, we're going to do this, and we're going to get it out, we've got to turn the whole thing round. The fastest a record's ever been printed and pressed, and da-da-da-da-da. We want to break a lot of records, you know, that kind of thing. And
So tell me about the obviously what you're doing at the moment, because you sort of the 80s, like I said, it led on to so many iconic voices, yourself and bands and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now you're doing two things as well. You're touring with your band, which we'll talk about in a second. But tell me about the other stuff that you're doing as well. The tour that you're doing now, because it's almost 2 tours as well. You're doing.
There is, yeah. Because I think the last time I was on your show, I was advertising this.
Well, it was because of COVID, but I'm coming to this tour because this is right on my street. Tell us about the first one you're doing, the one later on in the year as well. But
the first one is the one that's finally coming off after 2 years, which is a joint tour with Go West. So that's what's happening in May, and then in October I'm going back out on the road again, but this time with Hue and Cry and Carol Decker from Tapau.
Right.
So.
So when you're doing stuff like that, do you on the stage together, or you do your bit, you come off and they do their bit? How does it work? Or you're all on?
We haven't got that far yet.
Right.
Well, the Go West one, I think there are a couple of songs that we could do, and we could do them together. You know.
Yeah.
That's something I think could happen. For the one in October, anybody guess?
Anybody does it, yeah.
I'm getting the first one over with first, and I'll get the running order, and this, that, and the other.
But they have become hugely popular because, you know, there's festivals out there, the 80s festivals, stuff like that, that, you know, hugely popular. But you don't often see 90s festivals or 70s festivals. It seems to that 80s thing, it touches everybody, doesn't it?
People have hung on to that era, yeah. I think it's because...
Why do you think that is? Because if you look at music in the 50s as well, it was, and particularly the 60s, you can think as well. Why do you think the 80s have been like that? And
I think the 60s hung around for a long time as well, but I think as far as the 80s go, there was this curious juxtaposition between the poverty and what was going on politically, and yet in the tech world, there's all these advancements with CDs, synthesizers, drum machines, so the young people felt incredibly confident and that the world was their oyster.
Yeah.
And so all this great music started coming out, each one different to the other. And so when you see these tours that we do, you're getting that variation, you know, which is a nice thing, I think.
I think it's a fantastic thing. So I'm just going to recap what we've got in here, because I know you've got your eye on the food. Big lover of foodie. So we've just got in here our parsnips. I've sautéed these off with a bit of butter. In we go with a little bit of honey in there. I've got some tequila. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to get a touch of tequila. Pop that in there. Tequila or sherry works really well for this as well. But a little bit of lime, so we can keep those flavours in there, and lime juice, which you're going to pop in, like that, over the top. And really just sauté this lot together, and you get this amazing taste with everything else. Now, the chimichurri, bit of salt, put some seasoning in the stuff, bit of salt and bit of pepper. The chimichurri side of it has got a little bit of, we've got mint, coriander, we've got chili, we've got garlic, we've got shallot, oregano, red wine vinegar, olive oil, lime juice, lime zest, which, and then I'm going to take some salt and some pepper. So what is it about Mexican food that you absolutely love? Because not just that, with your band as well, the current band as well, what is it about Mexico that you absolutely adore?
Well, I heard music coming out of Texas. So you got Texas blues, but then you had this other stuff, which is a hybrid called Tex-Mex. And so it's still kind of rock and rolly, but it's got the accordion, the Mexican style of accordion playing involved, and a guitar I play called a bajo sexto.
But is it iconic to Mexico? Is that what it is?
It's iconic to the north of Mexico. It's called norteño or conjunta. Right. But then what happened was I travelled, then I went on this little musical journey, because then I thought, so what's mariachi? That's like their national music, and you find a lot more of that in central Mexico. Then you've got this other strange stuff called banda, which is this massive... it's like orchestral stuff, and it's got trombones and French horns. It's it's almost like marching music, but they love that as well. Right. And so then I found that the food changes as much from the north to the south as the music does.
It is. I mean, the food, particularly from the north and the south, massively different as well. So we've just got in here. Look, these are our. Just think of it as like chips, really, I suppose, with this one. And then we've got our lovely chimichurri sauce that we got going with it. But you want to put plenty of this all over the steak. There we go. All over the side. But I think that'll do for a starter for you, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah,
something like that. Nice little starter of pan-fried Côte de Boeuf chimichurri sauce with tequila parsnips. Give those a go. Easy as that. Well, there you go. It's not a bad little starter for you.
Is that mine?
Yes, all yours. Well, you're here all morning anyway. We're going to chat a little bit more later, where I'm going to cook you a cake as well. So save room for a little cake as well. But
right,
yeah,
OK.
Yeah, save room for a bit of cake. But if you taste it, the meat with the little bit of stock cube on it, with the chimichurri, yeah, it's... It's that.
I'm getting this already.
Really, really tasty. But anyway, you're going to stick around. We'll talk about the tour and everything else you're doing as well. But there we go. I'll be cooking another dish for Paul a little bit later on the show. And we've got more Easter goodies on the way from the one and only Mark Tilling as well. But join me after the break when Mr. Richard Corrigan will be here, firing up these very, very stoves and a barbecue, I believe. He's cooking squid. And you don't want to miss that one. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, if you want some top tips on cooking asparagus and rhubarb, then don't miss this week's Little Masterclass. And there's still loads more to come from our guests Paul Young and Rosemary Shrager. But first, I'm here with the chef behind some of London's finest restaurants and kitchens, and the stories are almost as legendary as his food. It's the fabulous and the brilliant Mr. Richard Corrigan. Yeah. There you go, Chefy. Introduction, if you wrote it. Good to see you, pal.
I mean, James.
Great to have you back again.
It's great to be breathing oxygen.
I mean, it is. I love your food. You know, I love your food. A big fan of your restaurants as well. What are you going to be cooking for us then? Because it smells amazing.
It's something that's been around my menus for a long time. It's chorizo, feta, and it's stuffed into a squid.
What are you got going on with the chorizo then in there?
Well, the chorizo, what I do is I poach it off.
Yeah.
I mean, you might think that's an odd thing to do with chorizo. They're kind of very, very fatty overall, no matter what you do with them. If you grill them or fry them, they tend to be really fatty. And
this is the oil that comes out of it.
The oils that come out of them. I like just to poach them off. And they give off just let them cool down. And then what I do, I just take them out. Just nice and easy. Just going to put them there.
So I mentioned the London restaurants, but you've not just got... Tell us about the London restaurants. You've got iconic restaurants as well. Bentley's, which you know I love Bentley's. I was there at Christmas. But you've got the other places as well. You've got Corrigan's in Mayfair.
I have Corrigan's in Mayfair. I have Daffodil Mulligan's.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of my alter ego Irish part of me over in East London.
Yeah. You have to have one of them there, don't you, for you?
Well, everyone say, where did the name come from?
Yeah.
And it's very simple. I went to a concert of Lancome, an Irish, very punky folk group, playing in Cafe Otto in Hackney.
Yeah.
And they sang a song called Daffodil Mulligan. I was in the front row going, God, that's a great name for a restaurant. And there you go, Daffodil Mulligan. It's an old Irish folk song or kind of music hall song from the 1930s. So here I was thinking this song going, God, the story's coming now. Now get a chef and get a menu and off we go, get a size. That's
really?
as simple as that.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's as simple as that. And it's been amazingly successful, and we've had a great reopening. We've just had a great reopening.
Because you've got that, and tell everybody about, I mean, you've got this massive place in Ireland as well.
We have Virginia Park Lodge.
Which we don't really talk, we haven't talked about that. You've got Virginia Park Lodge, but tell us about that place.
Well, Virginia Park Lodge is a grow operation.
Right.
And it's you know something, it's the love of my life, really, I'll be honest with you. Everyone has something. You love classic cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is your passion. And I just love soil, growing, gardeners. And, you know...
But it's a tremendous... This is not just your average allotment. You've got...
There's 7 acres of gardens.
A lot of gardeners.
A natural orchard of Irish-inspired trees. And you just think, no, all apples taste the same. No, they don't. When you have a cooking apple that tastes as good as an eating apple, but still has that tartiness in it.
Well, the old-fashioned eating apples were always tasted like cooking apples, don't they? It's only because they've been bred to the sweetness, but they always used to be sharp.
And I just love it. I just put oregano in here, a squeeze of lemon.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that, this stuff. And this is absolutely not rocket science.
So that's just lemon and oregano.
And that goes in there.
Right, okay.
Into a little bag.
Right.
And we just fill that little parcel with that.
Love this.
And we just fill that, and then I like just give it a little, let out anything.
Is that to stop from bursting? Or?
Yeah, a little bit of bursting, and if there's any excess anything in their oils or anything, it just comes out.
Yeah.
And I just fill them like that. And it's not rocket science. I season them.
Yeah.
Generously, of course.
Yeah.
A little bit of oil, not a lot, because I'm putting them on an open little ripatta grill there, which you have, which is very nice, James, I have to say.
That's all right.
I come here looking at all your nice stuff, you know that?
Yeah.
Your fresh pasta
Many
makers,
chefs come
your
here looking at
rollers.
that. I go back with some less as well, exactly.
And we just put them on there.
Yeah, it's nice. They are fantastic, these grills, aren't they? They hold the temperature really, really well.
We'll just put that there. What we're going to do now, the best thing is when you're poaching these, poach them early and then just let all the fat come out of them.
Yeah.
And what it does, it just makes a nicer stuffing. Not so rich, not so fatty.
Yeah.
Mussels in.
Yeah.
Dash of wine. No, you don't need shallots. There's so much flavour going on in all of this.
This is what I love about your cooking. It's just... Love it. So not a lot of wine then, you just a little bit?
I'm not a huge fan of wine on food. Not out of anything, and certain things and sauces is wonderful.
Yeah.
But I don't, it's quite acidic.
Yeah.
And wrongly used, you just end up...
There's also an awful lot of moisture in the mussels as well, you know. A lot of liquid in
I don't want to change this. Look at that. Yeah. I mean, this is really... This is it, really. You put your little bit of butter in there.
So that's garlic butter in there?
Garlic, little bit of butter.
Okay.
All in. A little bit of parsley in there as well.
So what's next for you then? Because you're always adapting, you're always changing. What's next for you? There must be something new on the horizon.
I have a little project.
I knew there'd be something.
I have a little project.
Right.
And it's really driven by my children.
Right.
Because, you know, I think my kids are better than me. But you know what I mean? I'm kind of entrepreneurial and...
But you are very... I mean, you are entrepreneurial, you certainly are. But very driven. But they're in different aspects of catering as well.
Yes.
You know, PR side as well. Look after some, you know, big name chefs as well while they're doing that.
Jessica looks after a lot of name chefs. And Richie is the really de facto MD in the company.
Yeah.
And Robbie, the youngest, is in hotel school.
Yeah.
And do you know something? I'm a little bit off the sleeve type of person. Sometimes I get angry about something and it's completely, you get it all in one go.
Yeah.
The kids are much better.
Yeah.
They kind of do the English thing. They nod and agree with me. Where I'm giving it to you in the face, you know what I mean? And they go, When are you retiring, Dad, you know?
Yeah, when are you retiring?
Yeah, when are you out of this?
Yes.
So basically, the kids, the next generation are wonderful. And on the Camden site, which I will tell you what it is, everyone is talking about it, it's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's
because I've heard a lot about this on social media, but go on then.
It's a rooftop restaurant.
Right.
I haven't told anyone about this.
No, I know, but you're about to tell quite a lot of people.
I'm going to tell James Martin. It's a rooftop restaurant.
Yeah.
It's Camden, which is kind of under 45. It's, you know, I might have to have a passport to go there myself, you know what I mean, really? And the fact of the matter is, food is fun, food is for everyone. And I'm a kind of a working class little farmer boy from the countryside. And I like everyone having a nice time, no matter if you save up to come to me or a merchant banker in there.
It is, you do that and you go to your restaurant, you're the same with everybody, and that's what you can tell. And you can tell when you're in the restaurant.
The last time you were in...
You can hear you.
Wait, the last time you were in, that guy I was sitting with having a glass of champagne had a party booked in Corrigan's. And, of course, COVID, Boris destroyed us by saying, don't go to restaurants on the 11th of December. Of course, I had a deposit from him.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I had a deposit from that chap, right? And I thought, God, I better have a glass of champagne with this guy. I think I owe him a lot of money. And first thing I sat down, he says, I'm getting my deposit back. I said, let's have another glass of champagne here.
Love it.
And this is the whole idea of negotiation starts.
I love it.
And the negotiation started there and then for me.
Yeah.
And by the way, I met a lovely man that night who has become a lovely friend.
Well, you're finishing what's on the food. Go on.
Well, this is just
these stories are special.
This is the garlic leaves. They're just in season now. And they just go in on the top. I don't like the garlic leaves wilted to nothing.
Yeah.
I just like them just in there, warm through, that there's almost a little raw, nettly feel from them.
Okay.
So texture, flavour, all together.
Yeah.
Just keep it warm. You don't need don't overcook these. These just went on for a couple of minutes. And
we're ready.
We are pretty ready.
Okay.
And everything just whittles down.
Well, that's just lovely in its own right. Look at that.
You know. The mussels are really good, by the way. English coastal, they're superb. Really superb. And then you just take our little squid. You just make sure we take this out. in there. And the juices come out of the squids as well. You can, I don't want to waste anything of them beautiful little sauces in there. Ooh. And then you just, I mean, with some bread, something like this, easily 2 people.
Yeah. How good does that look? Give us the name of this dish.
This is our stuffed squid with chorizo and barrel fermented feta with some English coastal mussels.
With stories from Mr. Richard Corrigan. Right, I'm looking forward to this. This looks a spectacular plate of food. And you've got something you want to munch on as well.
Oh, a little bit extra.
Wow. How do you do that? The feta, though, works, doesn't it? If it was just the chorizo, it didn't work.
I mean, what is nice, you know, just saying the squid is not overcooked as well, you know, it's just...
It's perfect. It's going to be perfect. It's Richard Corrigan cooking, isn't it? Mr. Richard Corrigan, everybody.
Thank you,
How
Jim.
good was that? From one genius to another, we've got Bake Off Creme de la Creme winner Mark Tilling. Will be working his magic in the kitchen very shortly. And I'll be treating Paul Young to a classic French dessert, or my version of a classic French dessert, a little bit later. But after the break, I'll be joined in the house by a chef-turned-author. Rosemary Shrager will be here. See you in a bit. Welcome back. Now I'll be chatting some more with 80s legend Paul Young a little bit later, and we've got Easter treats coming your way from Mr. Mark Tilling very shortly. But first, it's my turn to cook for a TV chef who starred in everything from I'm a Celebrity to Cooking with the Stars. It's the fabulous Rosemary Shrager! Ching ching!
Oh, ching!
Welcome to the house.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And congratulations on everything you're doing.
Well, I tell you what, it's good fun, isn't it?
It is. We're going to talk about what you've been doing as well, the new stuff you're doing. But I'm going to cook for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this beautiful bit of brill, and I thought we'd do pan-fried brill with clams, a classic sort of sauce, which leads me into your career as well, with a little bit of asparagus. But first thing I'm going to do is take this amazing brill that we got in here and just simply fillet it. Now, nature's been amazing. There's a very faint line. It's almost, filleting is a bit like painting by numbers. There's a little line on fish, isn't it, really? But particularly on brill, you've got this little line on here, and we're just going to follow that little line around here, round its head, there we go, and just loosen this to then fillet this lovely fish. And it is a beautiful, beautiful fish, this. And all I'm going to do is pan fry it. We've got some gorgeous clams. I'm going to put that with the clams that we've got in there and just serve it for you with a nice little bit of new season asparagus. So nice and simple.
Could not be nicer.
Yeah.
Do you know, what I love is about, you know, all this, the fish looks so fresh and shiny and gorgeous. And also, it's, to see it just like that, I think it's just the best way.
Well,
simple,
in its pure
but
form,
lovely.
isn't it, really?
Yeah,
That's
pure
what you
form.
want.
And also, I love the fact you've done something really classic for me, because I think, to me, this is simple food, and asparagus is coming, it's in, and everything else. What could be nicer?
It's amazing. Well, you mentioned the classic thing. I'm going to get
Yeah.
on and cook this in a minute.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting. Nobody really talks about your career.
No.
And I wanted to, while you're at the house and while you're here, because people see you on television, you're talking about what you're doing currently. We'll get onto that as well in a minute.
Yeah.
But you've got a fascinating career.
Yeah, I've done quite a lot.
But also with some amazing chefs. And we're talking about classic cooking, which this is, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you've done the rounds with some amazing chefs.
I have.
How did you get involved in food in the first place? Where did you fall in love with it?
Okay, that's really interesting. I was in love with cooking when I was a child. I mean, it's as simple as that. It goes back to when I was a child. When we used to go off, I used to pick off all the Loganberries, you know, from all the canes when they came in. And if, you know, anything that came in, we had a huge kitchen garden, which was big to me in those days, you know. But when these things happen, you get to know what things really are meant to taste like. So if I had to pick up a whole load of peas, I'd eat all the peas before they even got in.
Yeah.
So it was quite funny. I'd dig potatoes. I was always digging for potatoes.
Because that was your parents had a big garden, that kind of stuff. That's where it all comes from.
Yeah, it does. And I think, actually, how lucky was I to get that experience, but also to get that passion as well into food.
But also going from that, in terms of your upbringing, that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
to going into what dare I say, quite serious restaurants quite early on.
I did, but the problem was, I actually, before I went into the restaurant, I actually became an interior designer. I went to art college for 5 years. Right. I did a year in London, a year foundation, 3 years interior design. And I have to tell you, I was probably the worst interior... No, I've got a great taste, but I was no good at technical drawing. And when I went to work for architects in the city, I was bad. And I used to do all the technical drawings. I used to do all this stuff, and the problem was I didn't really enjoy it, because I wanted to actually do fine art. I love drawing, and I love doing fine art. But the problem with me is that I was never quite good enough to do that. So they persuaded me to go into interior design. They said, you'll earn money with interior design. And that's why... And I was offered to go to the Inchbourne School of Design those years. That was a long time ago. But I said, no, I'm going to a proper art school, and I'm going to go and learn all about it. I was so stubborn. I love the fact you're using the gills, too, and everything else.
Well, you don't want to waste anything, do you? You're talking about classic cooking. This is all
the flavour.
This is as classic as it gets, really. You want to keep everything in there, don't you? Really?
But then I left the architects after 18 months. I'd been there for about 82 years, something like that. And then because I was learning from books, and I used to get all my shopping from Harrods and all my shopping from around the place. And the problem was, and if ever I went wrong, do you know what I used to do? Phone Claridge's up and say, where am I going wrong? And invariably, they would always say, start again.
But I mentioned that because to go from that and getting your food from Harrods, bits and pieces like that, having the gauze, for instance, to then write to one of the greatest chefs this country has ever seen.
I did.
Pierre Kaufmann.
I did, but that was
That
was a few years later. But I have to tell you, I had by that time, we're moving on, and we've got a lot to talk about, but by that time, I had got a restaurant, but not only that, I'd worked, before Pierre Kaufmann, I'd actually worked for Jean-Christophe Novelli as well, who'd just come to this country. He was just a little boy, and it was so funny. And I was like his mother, and, and the whole thing carried on. So then, anyway, I did write to Pierre Kaufmann, and I must tell you, I didn't think I'd get a lock-in, because you know, and I know, that every chef in the world wrote to these 3-star restaurants, every chef, and said, can I have a job?
But we got in here. Look, I'm just going to go through the fish is in the oven.
Go through it.
The fish is in the oven, and what I've got on here is I'm going to take the clams like that, and we're just going to take the clams, and I've cooked the asparagus all in the same liquor, ready for this.
Enough.
But I want to keep this sort of the juices in here, everything else, including I'm going to pick out the bits of asparagus anyway. That's going to go in the sauce.
Yeah.
But then what we're going to do is we're going to reduce this all down to create our nice little sauce at the end of it. I'm going to add cream, I'm going to add butter. We're talking about all the classical sort of cooking. This is what it's going to go in there as well. But like I said at the top of this, tell me about this new venture, because this is something you are hugely, and you're passionate about food, but this has taken over your life.
Yeah, it has, yes.
Tell us about
cooking, I'm still doing demonstrations, I'm doing all
This is not a recipe book.
This is not a recipe book.
This is your first foray into this.
That's right, there's a lot of food in it.
Yeah.
What I decided, I have a secret passion, and that is watching thrillers, murders. Now, I think I'm probably, maybe from my past life, I'm a murderer. I have no idea, but I'm fascinated with it.
Fascinated with what with it? With real crimes or with...
No, the intrigue of murders and actually how things happen and why they happen. So I thought to myself, well, just before lockdown, just when lockdown happened, I thought, why can't we sort of have murder where it's sort of combined with food, a chef, in the chef world, and do something that's very creative like that.
I've worked in a few kitchens that are quite close to that.
Well, I have to tell you exactly. So what I've been able to do, there is a chef in there called Deirdre Shaw. She was a celebrity chef, and she was my thing. So what I've done is I have taken on chefs, taken on situations, and I've made situations in the book and brought just prudence is prudence, and I brought in characters.
So first of all,
I can't tell you too much. I'm trying to stop myself from saying too much.
Who is Prudence first of all?
Well, I'm Prudence.
Yes,
I'm Prudence.
You're Prudence in the book.
Yeah, I'm Sleuth. I'm the sleuth, and my granddaughter Suki is my assistant. The problem is I always wanted a camper van. Come on, James. I always wanted a beautiful camper van. And so, basically, I've got a camper van in the book.
Can I just say I love guests like you, because I've just got to ask you two things, and I can cook and just listen.
Yeah, you don't have to say anything.
Don't even have to think of anything, really. Just listen.
I can talk for England.
Just listen as well. So this is the first one. You say this is This is three.
This is a 3. I've almost, in fact, in that book, you'll see the first chapter of the next book. Nearly finished it, and it's all about my time in North Yorkshire. You're going to love this. You'll know about it because you'll know about the stories I'm bringing in. So that's what's so nice about it. So basically, and then I'm going to do one in Penzance.
Right.
And then I'm going to do one somewhere else. I'm hoping to get another recommission. If it goes well, you know, otherwise it'll stop at 3.
Look, we're just going to finish this off.
Okay.
So I've got the sauce. You like classic cooking.
But I love this, yeah.
And it's amazing the amount of butter that you use in classic cooking.
Yeah,
I know people go on about me and my butter and stuff like that.
No, but it makes it delicious.
You do use a lot, and you put a little bit of butter in there. I've got some cream to stabilise it.
Yeah.
We've got the juice, the liquor from the clams, everything else, and then we've got the white wine, just a small amount of white wine, and then this goes in here, and then we're just going to enrich it with a little bit of lemon juice, just a touch, and then we take some fresh chives. Chives.
Wow.
And that then sits in there. And then what we do is we take the leftover bits of what we're going here. So we've got the asparagus. I've got the clams. We're going to pop all that in there as well. And then just mix all this lot together. And you've got this amazing sort of rich sort of sauce.
Pretty.
Pretty food, isn't it, really?
Yeah, that's really pretty food.
That's it. And we just pop all that lot in there. A little bit of black pepper. Because I don't think you need any salt with this, because you've got enough. So a little bit of black pepper in there. And that sits like that. Now, on top of the fish, just bring that over. You can then do a variety of things. You can put like, lemon juice in it and bits and pieces. But over here, I think in here,
tomato?
you could put a little bit of concassed tomatoes. But I think with brill skin, what I like to do is
take it off.
Take it off. So what the fish does, what the skin does, is protect it while it's cooking. But you don't want to eat that.
Oh, that's so...
When I first moved to London, I worked in a restaurant, that was £7.50 for a crispy skin salad on one of the dishes. Yeah.
Really,
but nowadays
James?
we get rid of it because I don't think it's not very nice, really.
You see, I think that looks so delicious. I mean, that is so classically French, in fact.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that looks so delicious, and you know the prettiness of those lovely lines of that. Oh,
and you take a little bit of lemon.
I love it, love it.
Over the top. With that butter, with the lemon zest as well.
Yeah, which is slightly nutted.
Yeah, and then what we're going to do is just a tiny, tiny bit of salt over the top of that one, and then we're ready to plate it. So we just bring all this lot together. So give everybody the name of the book then.
The Last Supper by Rosemary Shrager.
I wish you all the very best with it.
James, thank you so much.
It's gonna be a hit, it really is. But look,
I hope so.
But you've got this beautiful, beautiful clams, which I know you love. That classic cooking. The asparagus is so quick to cook in a little sauce like that.
Oh my gosh, that's so delicious. I can't tell you.
The key to that is the nice little bit and put. I actually like plenty of sauce on it. I don't know about you, but...
Oh, masses, yes.
Plenty of sauce over the top.
I haven't had lunch, actually.
But there we have it. Classic dish of roast turbot with clams, asparagus, and what a story over the last 10 minutes. Cheers. Ching, ching.
Cheers.
There you have it.
Thank you so much.
Tell me what you think of that one.
Oh, my gosh.
It's been a pleasure cooking for you.
Well, do you know what? It's been lovely you cooking for me now. Oh, my gosh, this fish looks amazing.
All right.
I mean, look at this. I'm going to take the fish first.
With the sauce.
With the sauce.
I feel under pressure, actually. It's tasty, though.
Oh, that's beautifully cooked.
It's tasty, isn't it?
Oh, my gosh, seasoned enough.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
I know you like the asparagus. I know you love clams as well. But
I do. I love the clams. I'm going to have a clam with
Treat them like mussels as well. You don't have to overcook them. That's the key.
No.
You put them in there and fold them back into the sauce as well. But it's beautiful. With a simple little sauce.
Do you know what?
I love dishes like that.
Seriously, you've seasoned it perfectly.
Thank you. I feel like I'm on a cooking show.
But also, what is so nice, the asparagus is perfectly cooked, just for that short time, isn't it? You've still got that lovely crunch. And funny enough, the fish is still coming through.
That's all right. I'll pay you later, don't worry.
Yeah, it's all right.
Rosemary Shrager, everybody! Right, still to go. We've treated Paul Young to another course. And the incredible talented Mark Tilling will be in the kitchen very shortly. But after the break, I've got a masterclass in asparagus and rhubarb that you don't want to miss. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now I'll be treating Paul Young to my layered chocolate cake, very surely. And one of the world's best chocolatiers, Mark Telling, will be wowing us with some amazing Easter creations next. But first, it's time for this week's little masterclass. And this week's masterclass, we're looking at two ingredients that bang in season right now, asparagus and rhubarb. Now, traditionally, the season of asparagus, before you all shout at me, is the 23rd of April all the way through till about the 21st of June. The white asparagus runs from sort of the beginning of April to sort of the 24th of June, that kind of stuff like that. But the season can vary because now it's warmer, isn't it, really? So the season's moving, and the season's getting a little bit longer. Usually lasts about 8.5 weeks, something around that sort of time. So, asparagus, first of all, how do we prepare it? Now, it depends on what you want to do with it, really, how you prepare it. It's roughly similar preparation with all of it. But the smaller stems, really, these ones, is what I tend to do with these, is grill them. They're fantastic. You can blanch them. I'm going to show you exactly the way to do it anyway with all these asparagus. But with the smaller stems like these are perfect for grilling or on the barbecue. Wonderful. Now, when we prepare these, particularly with the smaller stems, I try not to peel them because they're much more tender than the bigger ones, really. So try not to peel them, otherwise you're wasting a lot of it. But also, don't get in the habit of this stupid idea of snapping them. I don't like it, basically from the fact that I don't want to waste any of it, really. So what I do is look where the asparagus changes colour from the white or purple part of the stalk to the green. And I'm just going to trim that up, like that. And then lose that to one side. Now, we wouldn't necessarily use this for stocks. I'd put that in my sort of veg patch as compost heap, really, the trimmings of that. And you start off with a nice asparagus spears like this. What we're going to do with that is just take a little bit of salt, some black pepper, and some olive oil. You can use a little bit of vegetable oil, something like that. And we're just going to drizzle that over the top. Now, this is predominantly for grilling them. You can use butter with this if you wanted to. We're going to roll them around in here so all the asparagus spears get coated nicely in the oil. And then rather than blanch them and then grill them, we're just going to grill them from raw. So they can just go straight onto our barbecue like that, which are perfect for this. So you want to put them straight on the barbecue. Now, these are going to take, particularly small stems like that, no more than about sort of 3-4 minutes. Now, when blanching the asparagus, I want some water over here in a pan. So I'm going to get a nice little bit of hot water over here. Salted water, we're just going to do. That you would salt normal vegetable water anyway. And we can turn our attention to the larger asparagus spears, which we've got in here. So this is where the season changes slightly different as well. Later on in the season, you'll get this sort of size asparagus. Earlier on, you'll get the smaller ones. An interesting fact, if the weather's really good and the timings are right and the weather's great, and the soil's perfect, everything else, the ideal atmosphere, it can grow to about 10 to 12 centimetres in a day. It's amazing, this sort of stuff. But again, what I do with this is just cut it before it changes colour. Now, you can peel these if you want, but again, you know, you're peeling them and going in the bin. I'd only peel really the white ones, really. You can trim this all down. You can do a chefy sort of thing. You pick them all out and all that kind of stuff, but blanch them. Nice, hot, boiling salted water. They need to go in boiling salted water. Now, this is predominantly if you were doing them with a salad, for instance, something like that, where you wanted them cooked, but you wanted the colour. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to blanch them so they're cooked and then put them in iced cold water to prevent them from cooking anymore. That way you'll keep the colour in it really nicely. Now, while they're cooking away nicely, and we don't want to overcook them as well, we can turn our attention to white asparagus. So with white asparagus, and the difference between the two, predominantly, is roughly the same thing, same plant. And it's actually more associated with the lily as asparagus anyway than the vegetable as itself that people think. But with the white asparagus, what this has done is grown in darkness. Very similar. This is why it's got a great synergy with the rhubarb that we got over here. But the same thing applies. Just trim it all up a little bit, like that. We can then, before we do anything, we can concentrate on this white asparagus that we've got over here. So this normal asparagus over here, which is cooked. We can take this out into cold water, like that. This stops the cooking of it immediately. It's exactly what we want. So we can just leave that to one side, and that will sit in there just to cool down nicely. Now, I'll just move that to one side, because my char grilled one is about there, to be honest with you. It's really that simple. So you've got your lovely asparagus. We can just put that straight on our plate, like that. You don't need to cook it any more than what that is. You can test it with a knife to see whether it's cooked, but This ain't my first rodeo. So we can just cook that nicely on there. And you've got your simple cooked char-grilled asparagus, which you can add a little bit of butter over the top like that. Melted butter, which is wonderful. Perfect way to eat asparagus. Now, having said that, this one, what we need to do with the white asparagus is we need to peel this a little bit, because the nature of how it's produced, the outside of it is a little bit more fibrous. So what we do with this is we just peel the outside bit of the asparagus. So take your time when you're doing this. Now, predominantly, the rest of the year, you're waiting for this sort of stuff, and when it's in season, they go crazy for it. The Germans absolutely love it. But you can buy it, like I've got in here, in little jars as well, if you wanted to. I would kind of stay away from those sort of jars. It's like buying asparagus in jars, normal green asparagus. It's not the same. You almost, a bit like sort of the UK strawberry or the Scottish raspberry. We want to wait, and we get excited about those seasons because that seasons don't really last very long. And you've got this amazing vegetable only produced for a certain amount of time. It's like the Jersey Royal potato, isn't it, really? So take advantage of it while it's there, and then it goes back in its box, and then you can look forward to it for the next year. But just peel that, like that. But the difference is with this water, we now heavily salt it. So it's a lot more salt in the water for this one. A lot more salt. 4 times more salt with the white asparagus. That goes in here as well. We can cook those nice and simple. Now, I'm actually going to serve these warm as well. But this one we'll just take out, because this now can then lift out, and we can pop that onto our little tray. So to drain those off, you can see all those are perfectly cooked. Beautiful colour from it. This is perfect for sort of salads and that kind of stuff if you wanted to. Absolutely perfect for this. Or, like I say, in the bigger stems, you can then put them on the char grill to finish them off. But if you wanted to warm these up, blanch them back into hot water, no more than probably 30 seconds if you wanted to reheat them. It's a big portion, this one, but just to show you what it's like. You've got this beautiful cooked asparagus. A little bit of black pepper over the top. Now, traditionally, of course, asparagus and hollandaise are a great combination, particularly when you're doing it with the white asparagus, which I'll do in a second. And I've got some hollandaise over here. Now, interestingly enough, with hollandaise, it's classed as one of the main sources. And one of the best books to buy, really, if you're looking for so this classic way of cooking, is this one, Repertoire de la Cuisine. It's an old French-style cookbook. Chefs will use this all the time. This is one that I had at college. 7063, my 3rd year advanced craft at catering college. This is exactly the book that I used when I was at catering college. And this is the one that I would go to, really. If you want any sort of ideas with sort of garnishes, that kind of stuff, it lists a whole different, not necessarily recipes, it doesn't do recipes, but it lists all different sort of derivatives of things like sauces. But it's a great way to look at sort of things like hollandaise. So we've got a classic hollandaise over here, which I've shown before on the show as well in a little masterclass. If you wanted to do something really plain like that, you've got this beautiful hollandaise that sits alongside it. This is just made with a little bit of clarified butter. You make it with peppercorns. I've made it with a little bit of vinegar, that kind of stuff. I've done it on the show before. But there are so many different derivatives from it. So things like blood oranges, bang in season as well at the moment. If you take the zest of this and the juice of this, add it to a simple little hollandaise, you have things called maltaise, which is amazing with asparagus and salmon. If you add things with asparagus and you put mint in the hollandaise, you've got things like paloise, tomato puree, sauce choron. There's loads of different ones that you remember. It brings back memories of when I was at college, but it's fantastic to use. So the white asparagus over here, again, nicely cooked, look. It does take a little bit longer to cook than the green asparagus, like that. But again, what you do, if you didn't want to keep it straight away like this, you can blanch it in ice cold water. It's a great way to keep it. You can pop that on there with that one. I'll turn this one down, and then you can pop your white asparagus straight on here as well. Put a nice pile of that. This is tons of asparagus, but it's delicious. But you can take that, and then with the addition of something like this, so you put a little bit of blood orange zest. It really is amazing, this, with any asparagus. But this, if you want to do asparagus with a little bit of salmon, a little bit of fish, something like that, this is a great way to do it. Like I said, with asparagus, with a little bit of lamb, put a little bit of mint in it. You see the colour of the blood oranges. Beautiful, beautiful colour. Great flavour from this as well. But you mix this together. This is a variant called Maltese. Very, very classic way of actually serving hollandaise sauce, and one that tastes amazing. So there you have it, sort of 3 different ideas, all using asparagus. Like I said, just finally, there's one other thing that's bang in season, or just coming into season right now, is the outdoor rhubarb. I've got some growing outdoors. Depends on where you live, really. If you're looking at sort of the famous areas of rhubarb, famous rhubarb triangle sits between sort of Wakefield, Halifax, that area. Predominantly the best rhubarb, I think, in the world, be from that neck of the woods, and it would be. So to cook it, very, very simple, really, what I'm going to do with this. Whether it's forced rhubarb like this or the larger one, what I like to do is I love crumbles, but what I love to do with this is just simply cook it. I think so many times with rhubarb, we overcook it, and we certainly put too much sugar on it. So particularly with the forced ones. So what I do with this is just take the rhubarb like that. Again, take something like blood oranges, which are amazing. You can just use normal oranges. Flavourings such as orange, ginger, whiskey, all go brilliantly with rhubarb. It's a fantastic combination. With the sugar, we take a little sprinkle of sugar. That's all we need, really. You'll need more as the season progresses, as the stalks get much bigger, like that, particularly the stuff that's grown outdoors, which mine is outside. A little bit more sugar. Pop it in the oven. Takes about sort of 6 to 8 minutes. When we come out, we end up with what I've got in here. And what you can do with this is make the most amazing knickerbocker glory with leftover bits of Easter egg. Leftover, I accidentally dropped that one. But you can get, this white chocolate is another great combination with rhubarb. And all we do with this, classically like in knickerbocker glory, as rhubarb sits there, we can then start to sort of fill this all up, where you've got your ice cream. Nice little scoop of that. Fit that in there. You can then take a little bit of the chocolate, which you can break up there for a little bit of texture. But rhubarb like this, I mean, I think kids will love it. If you put, you know, mix it together with a bit of orange, maybe go easy on the whiskey, but for obvious reasons, but if you do that with a little bit of orange, it tastes unbelievable. And the ginger is also another great combination. You don't have to use fresh ginger. You can use a little candied ginger as well, which is brilliant because you've got the syrup left over. But you can take this, you can layer it all up with the leftover bits of chocolate, like that. So it's like a little hidden treat. You can take more of the rhubarb on there. And not forgetting, we've got, you can't have knickerbocker glory without cream on the top. So we've got a nice little bit of cream on, just a little bit on there. And then you can top this with marshmallows. But you want to toast the marshmallows. Get yourself a blowtorch. Treat yourself this Easter to one of these. So you candy the blowtorch marshmallow over the top. Melts the cream nicely, and then you can take a few more bits of this sticks of rhubarb. Stick that on the top. So there you have it. So I've done 3 variants with the asparagus, but I'm sure on another one of these shows I'll be cooking with asparagus as well as the season progresses. But just uses leftover bits of Easter egg, bits and bobs, but an alternative way of cooking and eating rhubarb. Bon appetit. There we have it. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about, a little masterclass, then do get in touch. We'll see if we can help out right here on the show. Time now for a quick break. Join me again in a couple of minutes when the Willy Wonka of Hampshire, Mr. Mark Tilling, will be in the kitchen. You don't want to miss. His dish that he's brought with him is spectacular. I'm just eating. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now I'll be making a layered chocolate cake for my guest Paul Young shortly. But first, Easter wouldn't be Easter without chocolate, and this man makes some of the most incredible edible treats in the business, like the one you've just seen. It's a fabulous Mark Tilling.
Thank you.
Where do I even start with this? Where do I even start? Most people come in and just bring a little box of Easter eggs. You come in and just top trump everybody. What is this?
So this is like an ornate egg, you can say, with little drawers. Right. Yeah, okay. Something I actually did on the Bake Off competition.
Right.
So it's a semi-final showpiece that we did for that. So I've just made it a little bit bigger than the one we did on the show.
Creme de la creme, a little bit bigger. Right? Amazing. Anyway, what are you going to be doing for us today?
So
Not that.
No, not that, unfortunately.
Okay.
So today I'm going to show you how to do like Easter cookies with eggs inside. So you can either have a hard boiled egg or you can have a soft egg.
Now, I've been racking my brain. When I found out you were going to be doing this, I went, how on earth are you going to make this work? But so, first of all, you start off with the cookie dough, yeah?
Cookie dough first, yeah. So we got the butter and the sugar going in first. I'm just going to mix that together. Just chop this up a little bit. Into the mixer. A little bit of white sugar, a little bit dark brown sugar.
So you use a combination of the two?
Yeah.
Right.
Just going to mix around.
Now,
then we got...
what made you fall in love? Because I've known you for years as a pastry chef and everything else. What made you fall in love with chocolate and pursue it as a career? Because when we first met, you were a pastry chef, like down the road from where I was working as a head chef. When was the transition? When was the change?
I think because I worked with chocolate through that time that I was a pastry chef and just found it just an interesting ingredients, like, you know, the whole history, the whole... you know, how it's made, you know.
You weren't known for that in terms of, I mean...
No. So I just sort of like went on a few classes and just, you know, got a bit more information about it and then just loved it and just went from there, really.
But you say you went on a few classes, but then there's culinary Olympics with chocolate, World Chocolate
Masters. Yeah.
How do you then go from that to that in in such a short space of time?
Well, I've done a few competitions through my career anyway before that.
Yeah.
And I like a good challenge.
Yes.
So I decided, why not do it? Just do it, you know, for the experience.
Why not compete with the world, yeah.
You know, and then I ended up winning that first round and then went to the world finals. And, you know, there's nothing better than representing your country, you know, in the World Chocolate Masters.
So what, is it Japan, would I say, is one of the best in chocolate?
Yeah, Japan are very good. They won when I did the competition, but there's been other countries since then. Right. So yeah, it's just a bit of a mixture, really.
Because most people think of Switzerland and Belgium and that kind of stuff. But
they've all done really well. But yeah, there's been Netherlands that have won.
Yeah.
France, obviously, Italy have won as well. So yeah.
And the basis of it is creating something like this.
That's correct. Yeah.
On a
Yeah, so there's always a theme.
Time limit, I suppose,
and a time limit, yeah, as well. Yeah, and then you've got to do other things like a grab-and-go dessert, chocolates, plated dessert, entremets, things like that, as well in the competition, as well as building something a lot bigger and a lot more detailed than that as well. So
it's a little bit different to what you're making now. So you put the egg in there.
Put my egg in there, yeah. And then I'm going to add my flour, a little bit of cocoa powder as well. Always good to make them nice and chocolatey.
I mean, you've got to say, I mean, I've worked as a chef for years. You've got the dream job, though, haven't you, really? I mean, you get to work with chocolate every single day of the week.
Every day, yeah. I love it. It's great.
I mean, it's just the best job in the world, isn't it, really?
And I eat it every single day as well.
Because I mentioned the Willy Wonka of Hampshire, you become this, you get to play around with chocolate. That's the great thing.
Yeah, all the new chocolates coming out that we produce. We get to help companies, you know, put that into their processes and things like that. Brilliant. Yeah, it's great.
So you put chocolate chip in there?
Chocolate chips as well, so baked stable chocolate chips. So it's a key, you have them as baked stable, and then they're so nice and crunchy.
Baked stable, you call it, right?
Baked stable chocolate chips, yeah. So they've got less cocoa butter in them, so they'll melt in the oven, but then when they go and cool down, they go back to being solid. Whereas a normal sort of chocolate butter would melt and it would just disappear into the cookie mix or the cake mix as well.
Now people know, you see.
Yeah. So to make the eggs, here we go. So I've got a couple of moulds here.
Yeah.
So silicone moulds. So we've got one as the egg white and one as the yolk. Okay. So what I've got here is a little bit of chocolate. I've coloured it orange and I've added a little bit of orange flavouring to it as well, just to give it a bit of interest. Right. And then in the white chocolate, I've added a little bit of a little bit more vanilla, even though there's vanilla in white chocolate. Right. I want a little bit more in there. And then we're going to fill some piping bags.
What is that most people get wrong with trying to attempt chocolates at home, and particularly Easter time and that kind of stuff? Is it the heating of it, the wrong chocolate?
Yeah, it's all about the tempering. You know,
there is a science involved.
We talked about it before, the tempering, the science behind it. Yeah, so it's really, really important that you get it tempered. There's lots of information out there now where you can find out how to do it, and there's lots of easy ways of doing it as well.
Tempering means, just in simple terms, the tempering means you're doing what?
you're getting the crystal structure right in the chocolate. So it's the beta 5 crystal that we need that gives us that nice shine and that nice snap. So when you buy chocolate, you always see it nice and glossy, nice and shiny, and you can snap it. Yeah. If it wasn't tempered, it would be a dull snap.
So if you're looking at something like a chocolate bar that's melted in a car, for instance.
Yeah, so that's come out of the crystallization part of it.
It's separated up.
Separated up, yeah. Right, okay. Yeah. So we're just going to cut the ends off of the bags. And then, so we can use this little silicone molder. And this is a complete sphere, but I'm only going to do it halfway.
Now you can buy these as well from.
Yeah. So they're nice size as well. And then you'd leave them to set. You can pop them in the fridge. It's okay. It's not too bad for that.
Yeah.
Pop it in. And then to do the egg white bit, we can use this mould. So you can just pipe in.
I'd love to intrigue how your brain works. What are you doing?
I don't know. It's a bit strange sometimes.
But I suppose there's no limit. It's a great medium that there's no real limit to it, is it, really?
No, exactly.
That's the great thing about it.
But if you haven't got moulds, you can do it like this as well.
Yeah.
So you just pipe it out onto a sheet.
Right.
And then you can literally just get your, as the one that's already set, and just take
look at that. That's the ones that you've done.
Yeah, so just popped out, and then you can just place them in the centre. So you've got your little egg. So you can even use these. You can even, make these and just eat them, which is great.
Why
so
are
on
you
this,
the size
you could
of
just,
a house?
Well, I work hard. That's what I'm going to say.
I remember being a pastry chef way back, and you work in a restaurant. You just eat butter. I remember thinking, where are those 24 pan of chocolate gone? And I've just eaten them. And you aren't even at lunchtime yet, because that's when you're on a pastry section. That's all there is to eating it, really.
Exactly.
Right, so we got the eggs.
So we've got the eggs. So we've already set the salmon, got them out of the moulds, and then we can take some of the dough. Roughly take about 100 grams of the dough. Just flatten it out slightly. Remember, you've got obviously the chocolate chips in there, but you could change the chips. You could do milk ones and white ones. Pop it in, and then just encase it in the dough.
Now, we've been chatting earlier on in the show as well, because you're heavily involved in classes as well. People can come and work with you on chocolate. They can see you online and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Tell us about that.
So we do classes. So people that are looking to start up as a business, it's a really good opportunity. We do like 5-day business school, so you can come and learn all about the business side of chocolate.
Love it. And it's amazing the chocolate that you work with, how different it is from country to country, region to region, different areas of the world producing different chocolate.
That's it. Yeah, it's amazing. And that's.
The last time you brought an interesting chocolate, which was this sort of pinky coloured one.
The ruby chocolate.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, that's a fantastic chocolate.
But that wasn't coloured. That's just the cocoa bean, is it?
Yes, that's the cocoa bean. So it's not. Everybody thinks it's like a coloured white chocolate. Yeah. But it's just literally all the flavour, so all that acidity and all that colour is coming purely from the natural part of the bean itself.
So you've just moulded that like a Scotch egg? But
you could say that.
You use the chocolate mixture.
You could say it's Scotch egg.
Yeah.
And then they go in the oven. So about sort of 10 minutes in the oven. And then when they come out, let them cool down a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll grab some of these off. But you see, it's nice to have it really soft, the cookies, but they will harden up over time.
Right.
And you can see here we got some hard boiled, so they're just literally left for a good hour and a half, and you see that you get the hard boiled egg.
Hard boiled in.
That's it.
Now it's...
And then you see this one, you see you got that nice gooiness of that egg inside.
How does your brain work? How does your brain work? I know I'm deciding which one to go for. I'm going to go for this one, actually, because you've got to try these. This is an amazing idea. Look at that. I mean, these are going to be great, aren't they? Look, you just know they're going to be good. That.
Nice and gooey.
That's the best cookie I've ever tasted. Happy Easter. That is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Fantastic. Mark Tilling, everybody. Absolutely brilliant. We've still got time for one more final course this Easter, so join us after the break. We're returning to my roots as a pastry chef as I try to make a fantastic layered chocolate cake for Mr. Paul Young. I'll see you in a minute. This is amazing. Amazing. Welcome back to the last part of the show, and I'm here in the kitchen celebrating my Easter weekend with the one and only Paul Young, who stick around all day. So we got in here. This is our nice little bit of sponge. I'm going to do this amazing chocolate cake because it's Easter. This is my sort of celebration of Easter. It's a layered chocolate cake. It's amazing. It's made with a genuine sponge. So I've got in here some eggs and some sugar that I whisked up. So the reason why that was going, it makes an awful lot of noise, but we whip it all up till it's got a little figure of 8 in the top. And this is the way you test whether a cake mix is ready. You put the little figure of 8 in. If it still holds up the end of the figure 8, that means it's ready. If it
really?
It disappears,
that's a good one.
Keep mixing it. So that's got the eggs and the sugar in here. So you fold it around like that. That's that. Now, what you need for this is trays ready, which I've got. I've got some greaseproof trays over here. Now, what you can do is you can add your flour to this. No need to sieve flour. We used to do that in the 1980s. All right. So in we go with a cocoa. Well, the fact of the matter is our sieves have got smaller and we don't need to do that anymore. And do you remember when Granny used to have little weevils, little bugs in the flour? I remember my granny used to have little bugs. Yep, well, that's what the sieve was for. Get rid of those. Right. And then we got the melted butter. All goes in together. Now, you can, if you want, take a spatula for this, but you've got spatulas and they're attached to your arms. And we use them. So you open up your fingers. You open up your fingers like that, and you mix this together. There's going to be people kicking off that I've got jewellery on as well, like the two fat ladies. Remember those? But this is my house, and this is how I cook. Now we talked about bits and pieces that you do on your tour. We didn't talk about the album because you're in the studio. You've got the album as well. Tell me about the album. What number is this? You must have a record of all the albums. Well, tell me about this.
The idea came about because of lockdown, and I can be a pernickety person at the best of times. So I've done lots of projects with lots of different people. Yeah. And I thought, yeah, this track works, that one doesn't, blah, 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 blah. And so in lockdown, I kind of put a little folder together and cherry-picked all the stuff of the songs I thought that worked and the songs that didn't, with all these different people that I'd worked with. But then I did some writing in Nashville, and I'd never made any demos for them. And then when I put all this stuff together, it all seemed to work as a unit, you know. Yeah. So they were recorded in various different ways. So what I did was I went back in the studio, chose a drum sound I really liked, and what you can do these days now is you can trigger the drum sound you like from the drums that were recorded 10 years ago. Yeah. So I triggered all these, and it was Abbey Road drum kit, right? Right. So now I put this drum kit on all the tracks, and it sounds like they were all done at the same time. And so it's basically like a retrospective of all the little experiments and songs that I tried out, and put them all together. It sounds great.
How do you find writing? Because, I mean, back in the 80s, it must have just been coming to you. I mean, you get offered stuff, tons of stuff like that. How do you have to send you mentioned Nashville. Do you have to send yourself away to somewhere to write? Where does the ideas come from?
But this is the thing. See, I'm not a professional writer. I've got friends that's their. I'm a singer first and foremost. They're writers first and foremost. So sometimes you sit in with writers, and then they are able to sit with a guitar and get a germ of an idea from somewhere, God knows where.
Because it was amazing. We had James Arthur on the show a couple of months ago. It was the same thing, and you ask him whether they said just listening to something, and it just within 5 minutes you've written a track.
Yeah, and so what happens is I work with people and they've got a germ of an idea, and all I need is a germ, and then I've got something to work from. Then I can. It's like someone's put a foundation down, but you can still build whatever you want to build on that foundation. Right. So then it all goes from there, and that I can do, you know. And so that's how it worked, really. And working in Nashville, you've got these people who wake up in the morning at 8 o'clock, they're showered and done by about 9, 10 o'clock, they just write all day.
Look, we've just got here. I'm showing you what we're going to do with the cake. So, we've got some almond liqueur, we've got some chocolate cake, and then the idea is to layer this up with cream. And you build up layers, and you can make it like I've done mine with a chocolate Genoise sponge. I made a plain one as well. And you can mix and match the different flavours. It's entirely up to you whether you can make all chocolate cake, that kind of stuff. You can flavour the cream if you wanted to as well. Another great liqueur as well at the moment is chestnut liqueur. If you can get a hold of it, it's just spectacular.
I can get that. It's funny, I'm not a big nut man, but I love nut-flavoured things.
Chestnut liqueur is it's just absolutely fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And then you just want some of this cream, and then what we're going to do is just gradually start to sort of layer this up. And what you want to do is start off, and the idea is to make the cream not too thick. And that's why we take a piping bag, and you pipe it like this. So you pipe it.
You said that test.
That test. Well, we were mentioning while the break was going on about Hell's Kitchen. If you remember seeing yourself on Hell's Kitchen as well, because I just thought you mark up here. Well, I just thought, really, Paul, really. But, I mean, it's an experience that you'll never ever forget working with Mark. He's a fantastic chef. Yeah, great character as well. Yeah. But that must have been amazing as well when you were doing that.
At that point, you see, he'd matured a bit. He'd
mellowed a bit.
He'd got empathy. Right. He encouraged us to do the best that we could. He wanted you to be a team. He made you want to be a team player.
Yeah.
To make it work, you know.
Yeah. So look, we're just going to build this all up and build up a final layer over here. But I want to talk to you about your current band at the moment then. So tell us about that, because I know that's a huge thing for you. You've been together for many years now.
We're in our 30th year this year. And
it goes like that, though, doesn't it?
I mean, when you say current, Paul Young is current, and they work in tandem.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm leapfrogging because I've done a Paul Young album, but now I'm starting work on the Pacaminos album to celebrate our 30th. You
mentioned the fact of your albums and stuff like that. When you're writing all this sort of stuff, it must be a lot easier. Like you say, with Nashville, you lock yourself away. You know that you've got to do this, and the pressure's on, does it? Or you've got to finish it in a certain period of time?
Oh, that's what they do, and it's a little bit like going on Hell's Kitchen. You go in with a bunch of writers, and they want to finish a song. And if they're having a good day and they finish a song by lunchtime, well, you've got to do a second one in the afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, it's a good way to work because I tend to get a germ of an idea and I bash it around until I make it work. Sometimes they go, no, we just finish it. Then we do the second one, and then they might not use the first one.
So that must have been so different to what it was like in the 80s, really, because I'm assuming as soon as you get a track that is a hit, it goes out, you're on tour, and then there's a list of stuff waiting for you to do when you get back, is there? There must be that. Or they're still doing stuff on the road and you're still launching stuff while you're on tour. It's a very different way of...
Yeah, I guess once you get it done, so it's all changed now. I mean, I've noticed that a lot of the younger artists, they'll finish a track and it'll be up on Spotify.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I don't even know if they create an album out of it at the end, but I mean, the loose plan I've got is, I will put a couple of things out first, but I might hold back the complete album, you know, until I've put a couple of tracks out to get some interest. It's all new territory these days.
Yeah, but it's fantastic you're still doing it. Look, we've just got a nice little glaze over here, which you can make this thinner if you want. You can add a little bit of water to it if you want, but you get a nice little sort of fondant sort of glaze. And the idea is to take your cake now. It's purely optional whether you want to do this. But you take your cake on a bit of greaseproof paper. You can slide your cake off when it gets to that stage, like that. Comes a lot easier. And then we can just lift off the metal ring.
This is where it all melts if I make something.
This is where it all goes wrong, you see. This point in time. So what you can do is take your icing now. It's entirely up to you whether you create this a little bit more liquid or you create this sort of fudge look as well, and then use a palette knife over the top. But we're just going to mix this together. In here, I've just got some dark chocolate, I've got some butter, and I've got some cream. What we're going to do is just get rid of the water from there because it can affect the cake quite badly, this. So you just get rid of that water and then sort of put it all on top like that, over the top. And then with a palette knife, you can then evenly sort of go over the top.
Once again, you say evenly.
Well, you try and do it as evenly as possible, and at the same time you can keep going round like that. But obviously, when you're doing that, you want to make sure that you're not dragging the cream around with it as well. So you keep going and going and going. You get the idea. So you keep going all the way around like that. So you're coating all this nice cake. Keep going all the way around so it's nice and flat. And you'll end up, if I had the time, there we go. You'll end up with what I've got over here. So you keep going round and going round and going round, and you end up with that kind of stuff. You get the feeling like this. Then what you can do is you can transform this a little bit. You can use a blowtorch if you wanted to make this shine up. Alternatively, you can get a little bit of...
Basically, that just cooled.
That's just cool version of that. You can put it in the fridge, it sets, but you just keep going round like that. So you can see you've gone all the way, you started going all the way around, just keep going a little bit further.
Yeah.
That will take me 3 or 4 minutes to get that right, but you get this one, and you can just put this over the top like that. Now, there's famous cakes out there called a gâteau au opera, which is different sort of layers as well, a particular amount of layers that you can write the opera on it, which you've probably seen that in sort of cake shops abroad. That's a classic dessert. But for this one, what you want to do is then, when you cut it, you want to make sure that the knife is, it's a good idea, this, to get in the habit of doing this. Nice hot knife, dry knife, and you cut into the centre, right the way down. Wash the knife again, so otherwise that cream is just going to sit on top of the cut slice, and then go in again. Cut through, right to the bottom. Wash your knife again. It's good being a pastry chef. And then you slice
Isn't that
this.
one of the toughest jobs?
They say, yeah, it's still one of the longest hours. But when you lift that up, look, you got this amazing layered cake. So there you have it. My version of a fancy little Easter cake. I think it's worth the effort. Give it a go. Done. Well, there you go. Dive into that. And that's Happy Easter.
Yeah, this looks amazing. You've got to get a view of that.
Yeah, well, you can mix and match the different layers as well. If you want to do the almond liqueur, you can use a little bit of chestnut liqueur, a bit of brandy, but you can layer it with different things. You can flavour the cream. Someone put chestnut in the cream, a little bit of coffee in the cream. It's really nice, though.
Yeah.
The chocolate.
So nice. Nothing better than fresh cake as well.
It's lovely, isn't it? There you go. Nice and simple. There we go. That's all we've got time for today. A massive thank you to all my guests. Richard Corrigan, Mark Tilling, Rosemary Shrager, and of course, Mr. Paul Young. Yay! We'll see you back at the same time next Saturday morning. We'll be joined by Chef Atul Kutcher, Levi Roots, and sports presenter Mike Busher will be here. Until then, take care, stay safe. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now.